This
March.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, very good. March 24th, Stormwater Appeals Board. Let's have a roll call. Debbie?
Okay, John Kinney,
Oh, Floyd?
John Kinney. John, can you click your unmute button, or Debbie, can you show John how to click the unmute button? We'll go on to Brad Hoot.
Present.
Betsy Hester.
Okay, John's here.
Okay, John Kinney.
Here.
Betsy Hester.
Here.
Davis Lamb, I believe, is not going to be with us this morning. Robbie Adams.
Here.
Liz McLaurin.
Here.
Andy Reese.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. The next order of business is to have a motion that we meet remotely in accordance with Governor Bill Lee's executive order. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
John Kinney. Second.
All right, let's take a roll call on that. Floyd?
Sorry about that. John Kinney.
Yes.
Brad Hoot.
Yes.
Betsy Hester.
Yes.
Robbie Adams.
Yes.
Liz McLaurin.
Yes.
Andy Reese.
Yes. All right, we will start the meeting then remotely. First order, item number 1 is approval of the February 24th, 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion?
Well, I have a correction.
All right, let's open can I just open the floor for discussion without a motion, or do we need a motion?
That's fine, Mr. Chairman.
All right, go ahead, Brad.
On item 5, I recused myself from that action there. Probably should be noted that Brad Hoot recused himself from that consideration. And back where the voting was took, I wouldn't have been voting on it.
Gotcha, Brad. I'll fix that.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other corrections to the minutes?
Make a motion we accept them as read
Except with the change?
with the change.
With the change. I have a second.
Second.
Roll call, Floyd?
John Kinney.
Yes.
Brad Hoot.
Yes.
Betsy Hester.
Yes.
Robbie Adams.
Yes.
Liz McLaurin.
Yes.
Andy Reese.
Yes. Okay, item number 2. Tim Turner, T-Squared Engineering, on behalf of Mark McCullum, waiver of Section 4 of Williamson County Stormwater Management Regulations regarding the WNA for property located on Carter's Creek Pike. Is some representative from Mr. McCullum here to present this item to us?
Andy, would you like me to read the staff report for the record?
That would be great to read that for the record. Thank you.
Tim Turner, on behalf of Mark McCommon, is requesting waiver of Section 4 of the Williamson County Stormwater Management Regulations regarding the waterway natural area for property located on Carter Creek Pike. An unnamed tributary to Polk Creek runs through the property and has a waterway natural area of 50 feet perpendicular from the top of the bank on each side because the tributary area is less than 1 square mile. The parcel was recently divided from a larger parcel for a single-family residential use. Historically, there was a driveway within the waterway natural area, but based on aerial imagery, it appears to service a barn for agricultural uses. The applicant would like to use and improve that driveway to service a future new residence and add a small portion of the driveway within the waterway natural area. However, the driveway runs within 300 feet, approximately 300 feet of it within and parallel to the waterway natural area, with the closest point being approximately 17 feet from the top of the bank. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a waiver from the stormwater management regulations to allow a residential driveway to run parallel to the stream and within the limits of the waterway natural area.
Very good. Do we have a further presentation of that item, or who is here representing the petitioner?
Sir, my name is Kelsey Henderson. I'm here representing T-Square Engineering, along with Tim Turner is also on the call, and fellow engineer Allison, who also did work on this site. We are just bringing this before you to use what is available on the site. As you mentioned, there's an agricultural drive that has been existing on the property. It was servicing a barn, which is no longer present. There's already a bridge and an approved entry onto Carter's Creek Pike at the northern corner of the property. And we're seeking to use that without having to install another bridge or disturb the creek as it stands any further. Proposed use of the existing drive, as they mentioned, is about 300 feet in length, and we would only be extending that to exit the Weena by about 45 feet to go ahead and pull it out. It's very flat in that area, so we would be avoiding any sort of sheet flow coming from that drive more towards the creek. We're just very limited in our maneuverability in that area, because between the 50-foot Weena and the septic areas as they are recorded, there's only about 15 feet, and you're not allowed to cut per septic regulations within 15 feet of the septic areas. So we're unable to pull that existing drive out. And the other easy course, which would be to not install another bridge, but to go up that northern edge of the property line to access the proposed building area for the house, enters in 30 to 35% slopes, and it's just unreasonable for our use.
Any questions from the panel?
Yes, I have a question. It's probably something I overlooked, but is this going to be paved?
Yes, sir.
And the existing, the driveway as it exists now and is shown on this, on these photographs, is what's there right now. We're looking at, and the new one's going to be just a paved version of what's there now.
Yes, sir, that is correct. It'll be exactly what is there now, which is already compacted and was gravelled previously. It'll just be paved, and then about 45 feet to pull it out of that Weena to continue the drive up to the house, proposed resident.
Are you going to do any ditch work around the driveway, or just make it sort of contour on the hillside, or?
Because it is already fairly flat in that area, and in order to not introduce any more disturbance within the Weena, we were not proposing a ditch between the driveway and the creek at this time.
Any other questions?
Yeah, yes, this is Mr. Kenny. As it shows now, you have a sheet flow of water coming off the hill there, and it's washing already. And if you don't put some kind of ditch or covered under that driveway, the water may pool up and come off in an area and sheet washes the whole thing. I think it needs to be studied on that.
How do you intend to have the water off the hill cross the driveway, since the driveway will be 2 or 3 inches higher than the surrounding area, probably? I can't hear her. Can anyone else hear her?
No,
Sorry, Kelsey. I think you're muted. There you go.
So the water will actually sheet flow across the drive and down and flow down into that weena.
Did they ever hear you?
Okay, let's try the answer again. Is there an option, Floyd, to call into the meeting?
I think before she was using the headset that she's got on now, maybe we'll be able to hear her. No, we still can't hear you all. There is a call-in number that they should be able to dial in, should be listed in the meeting invitation and within the program there if we can't get them where we can hear them.
Mr. Chairman, this is Christy Ransom. Perhaps while they're trying to call in, we could go ahead and open and close the public hearing unless there's someone actually on the call who wants to speak,
All
and
right.
then come back to
That's
that.
great. That's
Thanks.
great. So while she's getting that straight, let's open the floor for any public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to comment? Seeing and hearing none, we close the floor for the public comment, reopen the floor for Kelsey and T Squared.
Yes, so can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay. Would you mind repeating that last question? I apologize. We were.
Oh, no, oh, no, thank you. The question I had was, the driveway goes across the bottom of the hill and you're going to pave it, which means that it will be 2 inches-ish above the water sheet flowing down to it. How do you intend to get the water over, under, or around the driveway?
Our current plan is actually to try to keep that drive flush with the existing elevation so that water just continues to sheet flow as opposed to concentrating.
And you're going to pave it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
This is Mr. Kenny. In order to do that, you're gonna have to dig out the driveway down to a certain level, put the rock under it, and then you're paving on there right now. So that's gonna be ground disturbance there.
If it would be amenable to y'all to put a ditch south of the drive between the hill and that proposed drive to push water along, we would be happy to do that.
Anybody, that would then involve a point concentrated discharge within the WNA on the downside of the driveway. Is that an issue? I can't remember the reg off the top of my head, Michael. Point discharges within the WNA.
I mean, if it's the reg state, if it's treated water, you can have a point discharge 25 feet. If not, then it has to be outside of the waterway natural area. I don't know that this would be treated water. It would just, but you know, you can review that under the as part of this waiver.
Yeah, it looks like this is Floyd. It looks like they've got a curtain drain that, you know, is coming down and going under the drive. And obviously it's allowable for curtain drains to discharge all the way to the creek with the assumption that it's, you know, clean groundwater that's being intercepted and taken around the septic system. So I don't know if they, you know, obviously if they tie into, I don't know if they can tie into that curtain drain for purposes of getting the intercepted water to the ditch as well, because if you're doing the ditch between the driveway and the septic area, it should be clean water, I assume, except for maybe what's coming from the house.
Okay. Is there a further review on your part with the final plan, or is this it in terms of the drainage?
No, this would pretty much be it. You know, just looking at the person we have reviewing the single lots would be looking to make sure they have the appropriate controls, you know, specified. But as far as, you know, there wouldn't be any other recommendations other than what's in front of you.
Well, any other thoughts on that particular aspect from the group?
This is Robbie Adams. I went out there and looked at it, and I understand what they're saying because of the septic requirements having to push up the hill. What I thought was that area that looks like it had been washed, it had washed a little bit, you know, once it's paved and that area stabilized with sod or with, you know, whatever they want to use, I would think it would slow that wash area to where it'd be non-existent and the water would just sheet down, is what I thought.
If I may, additionally, if I may, and as we mentioned the curtain drain earlier, I mean, the curtain drain is specifically in place to catch and redirect any sheet flow coming down the hill around the residence. So really anything that would be intercepted by a proposed ditch or which would sheet flow across the drive will be anything really just that lands on the septic areas itself and sheet flows across them. So the volume of stormwater that we're talking about is pretty minimal.
Okay. Any other concerns about that?
One thing that I've always wondered about the curtain drains, I think typically they show a detail where the curtain drain is backfilled, the trench is backfilled all the way to the surface with granular material or with gravel, so that surface water can quickly get into the subsurface and into the curtain drain. But in reality, I think what actually happens is, you know, they put topsoil over it and they sod it so it's not letting surface water in as much as it's letting groundwater in. Is that accurate, Kelsey?
Yes, sir. It is primarily a subsurface diversion method, but it is useful for some surface flow as well. And especially since so much is coming off of that hill, it kind of starts to flatten out in that area immediately. So a lot of that should become subsurface, I think.
Where does that curtain drain daylight since it's so flat down there?
If you can see the letters on the diagram that's pulled up currently, most of the flow, which should be caught on that northern side of the septic area and is diverted northern underneath the very beginning of the proposed drive. If you can see letters A to B to C.
Yeah.
And you have the gravel from A to B, and then the tie line from B on takes it across that proposed drive down to the creek directly.
Oh, I got you. Okay. All right, wasn't clear to me that was the curtain drain. Thank you. Any other concerns, questions, comments on this?
Yes, this is Brad Hoot. Kelsey, how long will it take to do this in terms of doing any sort of preparation for paving until the paving is done? You've mentioned the paving will be flush. Secondly, what time of the year do you think you might be doing this? And let me just comment, and you can correct me, but it looks like if this were paved and flush and well graded, it would actually be an improvement over flow coming down and scouring out what's there now. Would you care to comment on those three things?
First, yes, sir, I would agree that having a paved flush area would be an improvement for encouraging sheet flow in the area. As for the actual timeline and length of time and time of year for installation, I would have to defer to the contractor. He's not present on this call, but I would assume that his timeline would be pretty short for a job like this.
And can you do it at a time when it's good to grow grass and maybe the rain, heavy rainfalls are not so prominent? And will someone from your organization be watching over this so that it kind of keep it on track?
Yes, sir, absolutely, to all of that.
I'm good.
This is Floyd. If we could get, if staff could get some clarification on, from the board. I mean, typically on existing residential lots, we do not enforce if people have a situation where they have a waterway natural area and they're mowing in the waterway natural area or landscaping in the waterway natural area. I guess is the intent of the board. Is it all right for them to have turf grass all the way up to the top of the bank of the creek and to be out there mowing it? Or do you want that section, between the driveway and the creek, or even maybe on the other side of the driveway, do you want that landscaped or maintained in a certain way?
Well, this is John Kenny. I think it ought to be landscaped and maintained for sure.
This is Liz McLaurin. I would agree with Mr. Kinney, but I would discourage mowing to the edge of the creek for erosion control. Some other kind of planting that would discourage erosion.
If somebody's talking, I can't hear them.
Yeah, Andy, we're not getting you right now. Kelsey, this is Floyd. If Tim is in the room, I think we had talked with Tim earlier on this project, and I seem to remember that there was something mentioned about kind of an enhancement along that stream bank or a proposal for some landscaping. Do you know if that's gone anywhere?
Hey, Floyd, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what I remember us talking about and Mark McCommon telling me that he was wanting to do was further to the north as it turns and goes towards the crossing of Carter's Creek Pike. I don't think it was in this area, Floyd. It was down where it was kind of turning and it was eroding out the bank over there. He was wanting to do some enhancement to keep the erosion or to stop the erosion and re-beautify that area. But it wasn't right here in this long stretch.
Okay. All right, I think Andy is motioning for our vice chair to maybe take over the meeting.
All right, this is Mr. Kenny. Do you have any more, does the board have any more questions or comments?
Yeah, I don't know where we stand on this landscaping thing. Do we decide, what if they just leave the area between the driveway and the ditch unmowed? Is that what y'all want? Who's our landscape architect on the board?
Well, no, I mean, obviously, this is a situation where, it's going to be basically their front yard. So I think it's going to be very difficult to restrict them from getting in that area and doing things, even though, it's kind of the problem that we're presented with here, with that all being basically everything in front of the septic system is waterway natural area buffer. So, it would be something that would be difficult for us to propose. I think, if the board wishes for them to do something in that area that doesn't require mowing to the top of the bank, I think the applicant needs to give us a reasonable plan from a landscape architect.
Is it true that when this is done, it will actually be an improvement over what's there now, if it's done properly and put in well?
We believe so.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
We do believe so. Yes, sir.
This is Mr. Kenny on the landscaping, and I may be all wrong because I'm not a landscaper, but I believe it's in a grass area and where they can mow it and put in shrubs or flowers or what they want to. Should be fine to me, look like, but we don't need to get down there and start putting a lot of mulch around trees or wash right into the creek or something like that. Let it be a grassy area up to the shrubs, up to the flower garden, whatever it can be. And we can mow it down. You don't need to mow it into the ground. You want the grass cut down and make it inches high. That would give a little buffer zone through there to filter the water.
Yeah, this is Tim Turner again. I agree with that. I would rather see us plant grass to the creek and keep that really maintained so it gives us more buffer, more water quality. I would hate to go in there and start planting shrubs and stuff that you may be building up that would keep water from sheet flowing into the creek. We definitely don't want to, berm up any water that wants to get in the creek. So if we could just put grass there keep that maintained, and that gives a great filter for any water that's getting into the creek.
So leaving it as is with a thick grass cover would be okay?
It would be okay with us. It's just up to you guys. But yeah, I think that would be the best way to maintain erosion, to let the grass grow, get a good standard grass, and that will also filter water.
Well, it doesn't look like it's doing any erosion now in that area. The way it is now seems to be holding up pretty good. Apparently they got good sheet flow going in that area. Does that seem right?
You're right. It does. I'm just saying if y'all are concerned about that, but yeah, I mean, right now I think it's stable and it's just sheet flowing just straight across. So it's not, and it's a long straight ditch section there. So it's not any, winding where you're getting any erosion going on.
This is Floyd. I was just going to point out, I mean, you're talking about, you obviously see a lot of the yards that we have around here now, and they're meticulously maintained, and you got some weed and feed going on, you got some fertilizer going on. So I was just going to point out, I mean, I don't know if one type of grass is better than another type of grass to be in an area like that, and are there some that wouldn't require the application of as many herbicides, pesticides, and fertilizer?
Well, it's Mr. Kenny. It looked like the grass there is a Kentucky fescue grass, which has a deep-rooted grass, which will hold the dirt real good, where some of the other grasses are a real shallow-rooted grass, but your Kentucky fescue will go 3 to 4 foot deep on some of the roots. Has anybody else got any questions or for the applicant or anything, or do I hear a motion on what we got?
I move, this is Brad. I move to approve the application.
Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Floyd, can you call the roll?
Yeah, John Kenny,
In favor?
Brad Hoot,
Yes.
Betsy Hester,
Yes.
Robbie Adams,
Yes.
Liz McLaurin,
Yes.
Andy Reese.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay, good. Yeah. I don't know what to do.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, is any more business? You're old. Well, do I hear a motion we adjourn then?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Thank you,
Anybody?
everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
Thank you.
y'all.
Bye-bye.
Mm.